Hello, everyone. I'm Johnny.
And I am Teresa. And today, if you are a content creator, if you are considering becoming a content creator, you need to stay for this episode. We have a young man with us who's familiar with the content world, and I will have him introduce himself to you today.
Hi, I'm David Griffiths. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Okay, so tell us, what do you do? What is your specialty? Because everyone wants to know about content creation.
I enjoy helping faith-based creators connect with the people they want to serve by understanding how to be attractive on social media so that the people you want to serve can find you.
All right. Yes, sir. Well, we like that because everybody, if you're out there in the content creation world, you want to be found, right? And especially if you faith-based as well, you definitely want to be found because you have a message that you're trying to get out to a certain niche in your audience there. So you want to start off on?
Yeah, and out in the content creation world is so many of us. It's a challenge in getting followers. It's a challenge in building a community. And you probably know YouTube is a challenge also to master. You have to go through training, you have to go to seminars, and then even when you do all of that, it still doesn't feel like you have what it takes to agree with the algorithm of YouTube.
I feel your pain. I feel your pain. I think that I would encourage anybody who's getting in this space, first of all, to get very clear on why you're here. Get very clear, because too many times I think people aren't clear, and then their lack of clarity makes it difficult for the algorithm to actually serve them. Sometimes people think that the algorithm is against us and hates us, but I think what the algorithm has in mind is it just wants to find content that it knows that it's the people that it has will enjoy. It wants to make sure that it gets content and spreads it out to people that it knows people will watch to the end. And so until we learn the secrets of getting our content to be engaging, until we learn how to get people to watch our content for more than just the first part and then we're not going to be able to get the algorithm to help us in the way that we wish.
And you know what, I did not ask him, and we have the millennials that are following us, and they're going to want to know the answer to this question. So what gives you the credibility to educate us on content creation?
This is a very good question. I will start by saying I'm a very curious and passionate person. And so part of what gives me credibility is the fact that I'm intensely curious and passionate about understanding social media. That curiosity and that passion has led me to explore different techniques, to have different coaches, to grow on various platforms so that I have over 1.5 million followers online.
Well, I would say he's very credible.
Very credible and qualified.
Right. If you got 1.5,
Yeah.
say you have the experience enough to teach us and educate our audience on building some income with content creation and building a community.
And so one of the things you said is passion, right? You got to have the passion to do it. Is that, so could you tell us what drove you to have that passion to like create content and to be on all the social media platforms that you're currently on? What drove that passion?
Great question. I remember there was a day when I was in my car and I was sad and I was crying out to the Lord, and I was trying to understand. I was trying to figure out how what I was doing was really my purpose. And so my prayer was that the Creator would give me an opportunity to be able to mentor my son, who's turning 21 this month, and to enjoy my mother's twilight years. She's 93. And I wanted to be able to have some location freedom in my work. And so ironically, I went to a workshop in Florida, a speaker boot camp. I got wonderful information. I got clients for my business, but I also got COVID, and it became long COVID. And so I ended up getting brain fog and anxiety, and I had to resign from my middle school and my university teaching positions. So I had a weird answer to prayer. Suddenly it's like, okay, looks like I'm going to be full-time in the content creation world. So that was a little bit unexpected. But a little bit before that, at the beginning of the pandemic, one of my friends, Jeff Vargas, he decided to have a Zoom for all the guys that went to high school together to just like encourage one another as we were not able to go and do what we usually did. And so one of our friends, Kevin, his mother just died, and he said, "Hey David, would you be willing to sing a hymn for me every morning on Facebook to help me get through this time?" And when he said it, I paused, and to me it wasn't just him asking the question, it was more like God was asking me, "Okay, Dave, I know you're not happy about how all the different things are going on in your life, but are you going to give your gifts to me still?" And so I told Kevin yes, and as I sang and shared music and a prayer on Facebook, it became clear to me that Kevin was going to be blessed, but nobody knew would ever discover what I was doing, unless of course I had money to pay for ads, which wasn't in the budget. So I started doing some research, and I came across this guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, and he said the best place for organic growth online was TikTok. TikTok? I thought TikTok was just for like girls who like to dance, right? But he said it was the best place for organic growth for businesses. So I listened to him because obviously he's very successful and he has what I want to have. So I better listen to him instead of my own thoughts, right? So I got myself a coach and I laser beam focus on that platform. And at first, my coach recommended doing something related to things you're passionate about. So I had maybe 8 or 9 different things that I was passionate about. And so I started creating content on those. I sang, but, people didn't seem that excited about me singing. But my coach said, after you do these different things, your audience will teach you what it is that they want from you. And when they do, double down. So that's what I did. I did some trends, and trends, they were fun, but people weren't that into the trends. But for me, the 2 things that really spoke were, one, when I would pray. So I was doing like a hymn, and then I would have a thought and pray from what I was doing on Facebook. And I just broke those up into separate videos when I went on TikTok. And so I'm doing these other things, but when I prayed, I got all these comments, and then I got DMs from people saying, I haven't had anyone to pray with me or for me in a long time. Thank you. And then they started asking me questions. And so I got all this engagement, and I'm going like, hold on. I thought, maybe I would be, I don't know, I'd figure out I would either sing or I would play, so because I was doing music so much. I thought it would be something like that, or maybe I would find a trend and that would jump off. Praying? Are you serious? But my coach was right. My audience taught me what it is that they wanted. The other thing was I would just share from my heart what it is that one would have told me. So maybe like me 6 months ago, share an urging message for me 6 months ago. And one of the first ones that went viral was called Don't Quit. And just me speaking from the heart, a talking head video, that was my first video that had over 1 million views. So my audience taught me that they wanted me to encourage them and they wanted me to pray for them.
Okay, David, I'm like kind of speechless. Okay, so we are anticipating that God is going to lead a lot of people to this video. Okay, that's what we're hoping and praying for. So like you talked about how your coach said passion, your audience taught you what they wanted. We have someone watching and they are in the content creation game. How can they recognize what their audience is teaching them?
Okay, so, and I first want to say this because you specifically called out this person who's in the content creation game. I'm passionate. I'm going to say that word again. And I encourage those who want to be successful in this area to have fun with it and be passionate about it. Really dive deep. What does that mean? Well, it means doing a little bit of research. So let's say that your area is real estate. Let me just pick that. What is being right now on TikTok, on Instagram, what's being really successful in the real estate arena? Well, do a search and find out. And when you find out what's being successful, then make a little folder and collect, some of the top videos in your particular topic, and then analyze them. Look at them and think about, okay, what's the pacing? Are they having these jump cuts? Is it like starting out with a question, what's your biggest problem when it comes to finding a new house? People doesn't have that Zoom cut. Right. But you have to study the way that the videos that are being successful are made, because literally what you want to do is you want to analyze the structure and pattern, and then you want to do your version of what's already successful. A lot of people, I don't know if they're disappointed when I tell them this, but when I watch other people who do, who say, in 60 days I got 100,000 followers, most all of them that I've seen, they do this. They go look and find what's already being successful on the platform in their particular subject area, and then they recreate those videos. They just change it in a little bit to make it personal to them. But if the first scene is someone asking a question, and 2 seconds later you see panning of someone walking down the street, then they do their version, they ask their question, and then they get their own video of someone walking down the street, and they do the exact structure. But when you do that, the algorithm goes, oh, I've seen that before. Yeah, that's going to work well. Here, let me send it out to more people.
Okay, he said that book a bare word, algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about the algorithms to someone who may be thinking about content creation and they don't know about the algorithm yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Well, let me say this. Let's just, because a lot of people are scared of AI, and quite honestly, I think that a lot of people don't realize all that you can do with AI today. But you shouldn't be afraid of it. You should learn it so that you can utilize it, because the first thing that's going to happen is not that AI will just come and take our jobs. It's that someone who knows how to use AI is going to replace the job of 5 people, right?
Wow.
And so you want to be the person who knows how to use AI so that you're able to have the job. Okay, and so one of the, let's just for a moment pretend it's not AI. The algorithm, let's call it Al. Al is this dude, and it's his job to make sure that whichever company he's working for, that they're profitable. And so in order for them to be profitable, they want whoever's coming to the platform to stay on there as long as possible, and they want them to watch content that just engages them and makes them not want to leave. So if your content is that, it'll get seen by a lot of people. If it isn't that, it's not going to get seen. And so don't let your feelings be hurt if your content isn't getting seen by a lot of people. So I'm gonna give you David's edition of this. This is not an official statement from any particular company. There are certain things that give you a little bit of a head start. Maybe you're cute. That gives you a head start. Maybe you just happen to create the same style video that just got, Mr. Beast made, and it got, 100 million views. And so you just happen to luck upon it, and then, oh my goodness, the algorithm's taking my stuff out and I'm becoming famous. But for most people, we have to study and try a few different things. And then once we find the thing, then we need to make sure to double down on that. And that's when Al says, oh, you're ready, and shares you with more people. So don't, a lot of people feel like they're shadow banned or something like that. Honestly, it really is you form habits. So for example, if you'll notice certain people, when they're creating videos, they say, all right, today I'm gonna share with you 7 tips of how you can grow on social media. Make sure you stay to the end, because the last one is probably like 5 times better than all the other ones combined. All right. So I would hope the person wasn't lying, right? But if they're telling the truth, which I hope they are, they just got you to stay to the end, which got Al to say, oh, great. I'm going to share with everybody. Right? So it's literally, you have to tinker with it enough until you find the thing that really works. And then one other thing, like tonight I have on a gray shirt. Most of my videos that have gone viral, I'm either wearing a gray shirt or a black shirt. So if let's say that I had a coach who's a very successful online business person. And so she tells her students to wear colorful outfits. If I just did what she said, I don't know, maybe I'd never have gone viral. But I already knew, because I would study what did well and what didn't go well. I just knew for me, okay, gray is the best shirt for me to wear in terms of videos that go viral.
That's
that's kind of unique. Your colors.
Yeah,
Your color
I haven't heard that yet.
Yeah, me either. Your color scheme.
Well, thank you for sharing that piece.
You're welcome.
So, David, and you've been on social media for a little while. Like you said, you got over millions of followers. So, what are some common mistakes that you notice that content creators, make, and then how can they avoid those type of mistakes?
That's a wonderful question. Okay, so I am 58. So a lot of the people who I went to school with who discovered social media, they use Facebook, and what they do on social media is they go, "Oh, look at my daughter, or look at my grandson. Oh, he had a basketball game, or oh, we went on vacation to the Swiss Alps. Oh, see pictures from our vacation." And so in your mind, if that's what you only see on social media, and I should confess, I was on YouTube for 13 years and I only had a little over 100 followers because that's what I did, because that's what I thought social media was for. Okay, let me show you what I did. Or I'm a gospel recording artist, but it's important for me to show my would-be fans what I'm doing. So, I'm cooking something in the kitchen. Let me show you. That, if you are already famous, that's great to do. And I'm not saying it's not good to share with people behind the scenes. If you're on Instagram, using stories is a great place to show behind the scenes stuff, because stories is only for, if you post something, it's only on for 24 hours and it only goes to your followers. But if you're trying to get strangers to decide to follow you, it's about them and not about you. There has to be something of value that you're giving them for it to make sense for them to follow you. That's the big mistake that I see is businesses, they want to show, oh, hey, our business is so wonderful. Look at all these cool things that we did. When the correct position is, I am the guide and you are the hero. So my job is not to tell you, oh, I'm the guide, I'm so great. It's to be like, I see what you're trying to do and I can help you get there. I can be your guide. Let's talk about, let's talk about where you'd like to go, the aspiration. And let's talk about, if you keep doing what you're doing, what do you think's going to happen? All right. So the pain of the problem getting worse because you don't do anything, and then the aspiration, the future goal, between those two poles, then you can create powerful content and you can get people to follow you because it's about them and their journey. They're the hero. You're just the guide.
Okay, I like that. And then I want to take a step back because I think this is pretty important that we speak on this also, because at nowadays that I know for sure that there are a lot of content creators that are discouraged. And I know you experienced that. Can you tell a discouraged content creator, can you give them some encouragement words?
I remember when I would post every day and nothing would happen. Now, if I quit at day 35, we wouldn't be having this interview, right?
Wow.
Yeah. But on day 57, then suddenly, oh, people like this. And I double down on what I see working, and then all of a sudden I start growing. It's your commitment to really explore, regardless of the immediate outcome, that's really going to guarantee your success. And so even now, at every juncture of what I'm doing, I've experienced this, whether it's first it's followers, and then because initially I was in this for impact and not so much for revenue. And so even with that, like when you first start doing things with a mindset towards creating revenue, you have to be consistent with that in the same way I was consistent with the different factors that would make something go viral or cause people to want to follow you. And so if I gave up because I was successful getting followers more quickly than I was in making an income, then, I wouldn't be where I am today. And so I don't want someone to get discouraged and give up, but rather have a plan that's a little bit more nuanced. And one of the things that I would say is this: if I had to do it over again, I would have spent less time and energy on trying to get millions of followers, and I would have spent more time on creating clarity on who it is I wanted to serve, and creating a lead magnet for those people, and creating an offer for those people. And from the beginning, give value, point people to the lead magnet, follow up with an offer. Because if you try to make money, if you try that's the way to go. So that's my word for the discouraged person. Get you a lead magnet, get you an offer, and start working on that.
Okay, tell them what a lead magnet is.
A lead magnet is something that you give people for free in exchange for their contact info. And nowadays we're all fancy. Like we don't just want an email. We want an email and a cell phone number because the software, I know the software that my company uses is called Biz Greenhouse. The software can send text messages, and people are receiving text messages more freely than they are email messages.
That's true. You got something. You know, I got another one.
Well, no, I really like what you go ahead though, but I like what he said about the lead magnet, because if you don't have like the actual people that you are influencing or encouraging how to contact them, then it's almost like a waste, right? Because you can't go back and feed them what they want. So I like that. Go ahead.
So, David, what made you decide to get a coach? And in that answer, I want you to also explain when someone needs to consider getting a coach for themselves.
I believe that you should get a coach right away.
Oh, why?
Yeah, in the multitude of counselors, there is safety, the Bible says. I
Yes, it
believe
does.
Yep.
that for me, so earlier I was saying that Gary Vee, he has something that I want. Gary Vee is a very successful businessman, and he's a successful author. He's a successful, well-paid public speaker. So he's doing stuff that I desire to do. He has something that I want. He's done what it is that I want to do on social media. So if he coaches me, I get there faster because he's already done it. So you need to get a coach because a coach can help you to get further faster. So anybody who's in my kingdom, I encourage them not to get lost in the rabbit hole. There's a group called To the Extreme, and I don't know the rest of their music, but they had this lovely ballad called More Than Words Can Say, and it was just nice. People were touched by it, so emotional. But it was the end of their career. Why? Because they were really like a hard rock band, but then they wrote this pretty ballad and it became like a #1 hit, and so everyone wanted to hear more of these pretty ballads, but that's not what they did. So it's important for us to be clear on who we are and what we're going to offer, because you can get caught up in just becoming popular and then end up, because you followed a trend and went viral, you're known for something that has nothing to do with what it is that you really offer.
That's pretty powerful and pretty moving, because you follow the trend, but that's not what you offer. It ain't what you're passionate about. It ain't even who you are, but because you followed the trends, you got that 5 seconds, maybe a couple of weeks of clicks and likes and a few subscribers.
Yeah, then you're like, oh, well, I did good this time, but now I'm not doing so well.
Yeah, and then David, what I noticed too, a lot of creators, what they're telling people is how, successful you can be basically overnight. What can you tell somebody about who thinking they can go get their camera and just hit record, and in a week or so they're gonna just blow up? In my eyes, it don't appear to be that way. I want you to tell us the truth.
I will tell you the truth. The truth is this: you would be best served doing what I just talked about. The majority of people under the sound of my voice can create a lead magnet, can create content, very focused, offer the lead magnet, have an offer that you figure out whatever you want it to be, and then you can be successful in a short amount of time. That's true. You can be successful in a short amount of time. Now notice, I said most everyone can do that. Now that's different than you can get on your phone, you can create content, and you can go viral, and you can have 1 million followers. Because what they don't tell you is there are tons of creators who have large followings but don't have monetization. It's much more so it's much more competitive than it used to be. Here's another factor: a lot of companies have found that people who are not many of them are using micro influencers because their audiences are more engaged. So when I get up to, so let's say I had 10,000 followers, they might be more engaged than I have 221,000 Instagram. The person with 10,000 followers on Instagram, their audience may be more engaged than mine. So then what's happening is a lot of businesses are going, oh, well, why don't we get a group of influencers that are a little bit smaller, but that their audience is still really engaged. And so now imagine that. That's like, you work hard to get your numbers up, and then oh, I thought this is when I'm going to get the big payday. But then a lot of businesses are going to, well, actually, we're going to try micro influencers right now. So there's a lot to this. And that's why I would encourage people to get a mentor, because you want to have a strategy that works regardless of the trend. And I think that strategy is learning to create a good offer and learning to be very clear about who you are and who you serve. Because if you're that, then it doesn't matter. Like, you don't need thousands of followers to be able to get clients. I think that's the truth in a nutshell.
So that leads to this for me. So if you are creating content and you are trying to be like authentic when you're creating the content, then how do you go about appealing your audience base? Because you want to be authentic when you create the content, you want to not, but then you got to also appeal to your audience base. How does that tie in?
Let me give you a good example. So I was out in California for Brendan Bouchard had a coaching conference that I went to, and one of the exercises he gave us is, he said, all right, when you're done with the session, when you go back to wherever you're staying, I want you to go live and I want you to talk about what is the value of coaching and you know, what coaching means to you, why you think it's valuable. And so I did. And as I was going live talking about the value of coaching, I mentioned when I used to teach in the classroom, how frustrating it was because my feet started swelling and hurting later on in the day. And I don't know, within less than an hour, someone was DMing me and wanted to talk to me about me. Someone was DMing me and wanted to talk to me about me coaching. So quickly, he said, well, you talked about your feet swelling and how much it hurt. And I could relate because my feet swell.
Wow.
My authenticity in describing my experience and sensation resonated with the person who had a similar problem. And because of that, he was like, oh, well, I want this guy to help me or coach me because he gets me, right? So your authenticity allows your potential client to know, yeah, this is my tribe. This is someone who gets me or understands me. And if you're not authentic, then you miss those points of communication that literally bring down walls and open up doors for people to allow you to serve them.
Yeah, because I guarantee you, when you said that, you had no idea it was going to be someone that's going to reach out to you because you got swollen feet.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, but that was nice. Yes, but your feet got you a client because you were real and you shared the truth.
yes.
And it touched someone enough to where they made the time to reach out to you. But one thing that you said that I just really need to hone in on, and I want the listeners to hear, because really I think it's going to be impactful to me, because you'll look at YouTube and you'll see these people with 400,000 followers, right? And you automatically think because they have so many followers that they have monetized. But based on what you're saying, just because you see the numbers, that don't mean you see money.
One of the humbling things for me was this coach that I from another country that I've studied with. When I first discovered her, I thought there was something special about her, but I was looking and I was like, well, she don't have that many followers. Like, she looks like she has game, but she don't have that many followers. I was being prejudiced because I was like, but then when I signed up for one of her intensives, then she was talking about, oh yeah, I'm gonna, I look forward to going to the U.S. because I got a 2 Comma Club award. So if you know about 2 Comma Club awards, those are for people who use ClickFunnels as their software, and it means that they've had a funnel or a landing page system that's made $1 million or more. So she ain't have as many followers as David Griffiths, but she made $1 million in 1 year with one funnel. So I just said, okay, Lord, I'm humble. All right.
Oh, I'm humbled for you. Oh.
So I was like, oh, okay. This is why I say, if I could visit David Griffiths about 5 years ago, I'd be like, I know you want to get a lot of followers, but just take about 10% of the time for the followers thing, and let's just go ahead and do the boring stuff. Like, go ahead and make the lead magnet and set up, build your email list, and go ahead and start offering people coaching, or if you want to sell a book or a little course, go ahead and start doing it today, David, at the beginning. Because literally, consider that like a muscle, right? So just like I've gotten, good at helping people to create effective content and doing it myself, imagine, how much further I would be if I had just said, oh, you know what? Well, this is really the goal. The goal is to be able to enjoy my mother's twilight years and mentor my
Yes.
son by, having this revenue where I don't have to go and have a 9 to 5. I can work from anywhere I want. So
There it is.
that's the thing that I would say. I encourage everyone, like, I can give you like 5 different ways to successfully monetize. I was coaching someone today. They're very successful in what they used to do, but Donald Trump did a couple changes which hurt their business. But the same talent they have, I can help them now to offer it in a different way, right? But like whichever way it is, you just have to go ahead and start doing it and then adjust. And what happens is we can get caught up in like, oh, I want to get more followers than anybody else in my community. Or you could get caught up in, oh, I want to do a trend. I want to see what it's like to go viral. This is good. It's fun, but make sure you got the business part locked down first.
Okay, that's a huge nugget.
Mm-hmm.
Get the business locked down first. And then another thing that the watchers, our viewers, that I don't want you to miss is Mr. David Griffith. He has 1.5 million followers. However, I hope that you heard that he is still attending seminars. He's still learning. So just because he has arrived, he hasn't stopped. So Mr. David, if you could just give us a little bit on why it's important that just because you think you've arrived, you still need to keep learning.
Okay, let me give you. Okay.
You got it, because you just mentioned the seminar. Why are you still going? You're making money.
Okay. One of my clients, one of my clients is an award-winning author or best-selling author, and and so I've written a few books recently, and now I've written a couple books before. Recently, the process to be able to write a book, and I'm not saying, hey, ChatGPT, write a book for me. I'm not saying to do that. I'm saying, but what I am saying is marry your natural ability with technology. If I stopped learning, I wouldn't know how to use AI. So check this out. So then I can say, all right, I'm going to write a book on creating reels made easy. All right. So chat, give me an outline of things that you think I should cover in a book on reels. Oh, okay, cool. Here are some things that I wasn't thinking of, but here are some other things that I know are important that wasn't in this list. And so I merged the two together. All right, cool. Let's look at item 1. Here's a story from my experience about the importance of creating a hook at the beginning of a reel. And so I write the story and I say, all right, so complete the other information I need to have in this chapter. Boom. So now what happens, there's a certain amount of information on a particular aspect, say the pieces, the important parts that you need to have in a short form video. So you need to have a hook at the beginning to get people's attention, the first 2 to 3 seconds. You need to have something entertaining in the middle that's hopefully educational and it has an emotional component to it. That's the story part or the value that you give in the middle. And then at the end, you need to ask people to do something. That's called a call to action. So ChatGPT, or Gemini, whoever, is going to know those 3 parts of a reel. So that's not like you can ask any of those different AIs what the parts of a good reel are, and they can tell you. You might use different terminology, but it's pretty standard knowledge. But what they don't have is the stories. So if you put your story, and then if you train your AI to know your writing style, then it could just severely cut the amount of time it takes for you to write a book. I wouldn't know that if I stopped learning, right? But because I continue to study and I continue to go to workshops, I continue to have coaching, then it helps me to do what I do better and have more to offer when I coach other people.
Mr. David, I can just say, look, thank you. This has been great.
It has. It really has. I mean,
Yeah.
mind blowing. So this right here, and this is probably I need to ask this. So what advice would you give to someone who is thinking about starting in the content creation world, or and they just ready to start, or maybe they're already in it and they just like, you know what, I am struggling. What do I need to do to get myself on track so I can monetize or whatever the case may be? What advice would you give them?
I'm going to start here. There are several people who are brilliant people who I used to study who are no longer doing what they used to do in content creation. It's very easy for people to be enamored with the idea of what it is. And for many, they actually figure out what to do. And then they realize, oh, wow, it's cool that I figured this trick of how to get attention, but this is not what I want to, like, do I have to keep doing this for the next 5 years? Do I have to talk about this one topic? So the first thing that I just would encourage people to do is get clear on what's important to you. What do you value? Who is it that you want to serve, and why do you want to serve them? What are the problems that they know that they have that they would be willing to pay for a solution for? Okay, so if you know that you passionately, you like this, you desire to help people in this arena, okay, then if you want to go build that kingdom, then do your research. Find out what's already being successful in this genre, and then take a few of those successful pieces of content and dissect them, create your own, and then give yourself some reasonable benchmarks so that you're having fun along the way. And don't put a timetable to say, okay, well, this has to happen in the next 6 weeks or I'm quitting, because you're going to set yourself up for frustration and failure. That's what I would say, because I really believe that, like, I enjoy, like, creating content. I enjoy learning about technology. I enjoy editing videos. Like, I enjoy a lot of this so that it's fun. Like, I got into photography and it just became my therapy. I'd go do street photography, just, take portraits, and then on the weekends spending time editing photos. And it just became very therapeutic to me. So it's something that I can do for content creation, but it's something that I've just learned to enjoy. And I would invite whoever is frustrated right now to just get clear and then make sure you're doing something that you really enjoy, because if it jumps off, then you're going to be doing it for the next several years in order to really monetize.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
wonderful. Thank you for that.
That was great. Well, Mr. David, you have not told the audience, which I guess I'm going to bust you now.
Okay.
Tell everyone what you do and how they can find you, how they can reach you if they want to work with you.
Thank you. I help people to figure out how to use social media to connect with the people they want to serve. And if that's you, here are a couple ways that you can find me. I am at contentcreatingacademy.com. That's the name of my company. But if you're on Instagram, you can find me at David the Digital Creator. David the Digital Creator. And on YouTube at David Griffiths Music. Those are some of the best places to find me.
Okay.
This has been an amazing, eye-opening conversation.
Yes, it has.
And as social media grows, I look forward to bringing you back so that you can help all of us do better with this content creation world.
It would be my pleasure.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you. And audience, if you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe. And for more fresh content like this, and we really appreciate your time. And Mr. David, thank you, sir, again for joining Bartelle's Money Talk.